So welcome again for the other session, the next session in our study of prayer. And as you know, we have divided our search into what constitutes prayer by going to various levels. And there is one level that's called the simple level, pshat. And I'll give you those words here. Pshat. The word means that which is divested. In other words, if I take off all the fancy interpretations that are like clothes and jackets and everything else, and I get, people like to use the word getting to be naked with, you know? Like Ken Wilber is getting naked with people. What he means to say is, let's talk straight, let's leave all the pretense and everything that means that we have to defend what we are saying and speak clear from the heart. That's pshat, okay? There's another level that's called remez. Remez is, if I want to say, I'm saying a word, but I don't mean the word that I'm saying. I once wrote somebody a letter and said, oh, this was such a wonderful thing that you wrote me about. I got it. No, I didn't say wonderful. I got a kick out of what you wrote to me about. And the person wrote me back to apologize. Do you see what I'm saying? When you take it in pshat, it means getting booted. When you mean it in remez, you mean something else. Do you understand? So remez points to something else. It has another level of meaning. Now then there is a level that's called Rash. And that level means to say, I'm using words because I haven't got another choice. If I had a better choice, I wouldn't want to use these words, but I can't help it. Let me explain that to you. If I want to talk about something that has to do with feeling, I want to say how I feel about something, I will use words that come from another realm. I'll be using words that come from the realm of sensation. So I'll be saying, oh, I felt it was so bitter. Or, that was sweet of you. Notice I'm going to sensation for these words. I was down and out, you know. Even when we say words like depressed, you know, we're borrowing from another situation where you have pressure, you know, and sensation. But what is it that I really want to say when I say these words? I mean to talk about something for which I don't have better language. So I'm using some words, and I'm saying them, and I'm expecting you to understand that I don't mean the pshat, and I don't even mean the remez, but I mean something else. I'm trying to point to something that I can't in any other way point. And the best way to illustrate Rash is to say, when, let me go back. Pshat is, I'm putting on my shoe. It's clear, take it off, I put on my shoe. And when I'm saying, if I would walk in your moccasins, then I would understand what you are about. You know, so walking in your shoes, that's remez, okay? Now, there is an element in which when God says to Moses, take off those shoes from off your feet, for you're standing on holy ground. Now, what is meant at that point when he says take off the shoes? So it's clear he means on the pshat to take off the shoes. That's clear. You're standing holy, you take off the shoes. The sand is going to be hot and your feet are going to burn, but take off your shoes. You're standing on holy ground. Good. Now in Hebrew, when you say shal na'alecha me'al raglecha, take off your ne'alayim from your raglayim. Now the word, if I want to take a door and lock the door, that's called no'el delet. I'm locking the door. Okay? And na'al also has a sense of a lock. Okay? And regel means foot. But it also has a sense of, I wouldn't know how to walk if I had to think about lift up this muscle and do this. You know what I'm saying? If I had to think about everything, how come I can walk? I walk because of habit. So the Hebrew word for habit is hergel, which also means something with foot. Get that? So when he's saying take off the lock from your habits, you get the idea? Ooh, a whole lot of other things. In other words, don't do that which has precedent. You're moving into such a place that is holy that all the things you're going to bring into from other situations won't make any sense here. Okay? Get that? That's drash. I'm bringing in a whole other concept. I'm reading in a whole other concept. And that makes those words now shine in an altogether different dimensions, if you will. So, okay, so that's the next one. Now then we have Sod, and that stands for the mystery, for the secret. So how could I explain to you what Sod is? If I did, it wouldn't be a secret anymore. Okay? And yet you have a situation where two people talk to one another and they can't say, they really would like to say, but they can't say it. There aren't any words for it. And you can't even use an analog. And you can't read anything else in. You can't bring in, like saying, would you, if you only understood the meaning of the original Hebrew, then na'al means a lock, you know? You can't even say that. So what have you got here? Two people are talking. The best story for this is three good ladies in Miami sit near the beach, and one says, "Oi," and the other one says, "Oi, oi," and the third one says, "Oi," and then she says, "But we agreed we won't talk about our children." Now, how did she know that they were talking about the children? Okay, that's what you mean to say by sod. They shared a secret together. Now, when we say Kenoam siach sod sarfei kodesh, in that case, it doesn't mean that there is a speech, beautiful speech of the holy seraphim, but there was Nalabesod Kedoshim. Sod Kedoshim Rabbah. Sod has a meaning, the place where the council meets. Get that? It is shared but not spoken about outside of the circle. So in order to belong to the circle of truth, did you get to see that funny movie? Huh? The fuckers?
With the
Oh, yeah.
If you're outside of the circle of trust, you know? Get the idea? We feel that very strong when a non-Jew cracks a bad joke about Jews. We feel that's a no-no. An anti-Semite. But what would be if a Jew tells it to another Jew? then we all belong to the same sod. You get that? We are initiates in this kind of thing. So there you call for initiation. So in order to be able to daven out of the siddur in a deep way, it's necessary for us to learn about davening in all these 4 ways. Now let me just show you a word here. And if you read it up, you have pardes, which stands for paradise, which stands for the deep interpretation. And that tells us that 4 of the great rabbis, when they were about to enter into a mystical experience, they entered into the pardes. And so if somebody says to you, if you're good, then God is going to send you to paradise. So some people will say paradise is a place where you go into a beautiful garden, the best fruits are there, on those trees grow clothes, you know, and instead of water in the rivers, you're going to get wine. That would be a misunderstanding of paradise because it reads it as it were in pshat. Okay? So if you then say, just as you go into a garden, and what was the most famous garden in Greece? It was called the Academy, Academe. That's where Socrates and his disciples would walk. And since they would be teaching philosophy while they were peripatetic, in other words, walking, they called them the peripatetic philosophers, right? That would be saying, going into the garden, let's go into the garden where we can shmooze, talk about these kinds of things and learn. Another level of garden is to say, I come into such an environment where I feel it is so beautiful. And Christians sing a very beautiful song, a hymn goes, I came to the garden alone, which has for them the meaning that there I can meet with my beloved, with my master. Okay? Now what is the sod of the garden? That deep inside our heart, where beyond our personality, where the soul and God dwells in us, that's the garden. So I came into that garden. All right? So these are the 4 levels I wanted you to understand. So you can go now into the groups that you are assigned to, and I will be with the people who are going to stay on the ground floor tonight.
So let me explain. We are not really assigned. You get to choose. Yeah. So we're going to have 3 rooms. 1 room here for the Pshat level with Rabbi Zalman, and 1 room with David, who usually teaches with Yehudis, who is sick tonight, so she's not going to come. And David rules over the Remez and the Drush, both worlds together. And then the world of Sod, we will go to a room in the northwest corner, both David Sanders, Dr. David Sanders and Reb Michael. In the northwest corner there are 2 rooms. One is called Haifa and one is called Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. So you get to travel to those rooms. And Jerusalem, of course, is what world? The Sod, of course. So if it is your first time, you get to choose any of those 3 teachers, 3 wonderful teachers. If it is your if it is your second or third or fourth, this is our 4th session. Please go to a world you haven't visited before, because we want you to sample each level. Why? Because next month we will have all the worlds together. And we'll all stay in 1 room and celebrate all the worlds together. So we want you to be able to sample the taste of each one of them.
I'll be back in a few minutes, and those people who will stay here should move closer to you.
Okay. So good. So I have the floor for a couple more minutes. So I just wanted to tell you that next week, a little short of a week, next Wednesday, we have a wonderful evening with Reb Zalman and Reb Nadia that is called Holy Nigunim and Sacred Chant. And they both are going to teach us Nigunim and chants. And this is going to be in the Unitarian Church on Pennsylvania, and the flyer is outside, so you're welcome to take. Yeah, this is a very, very special evening, and very recommended. This is really for the soul and for the heart. And we have, in 2 weeks from now, Torah Lishma. Who haven't been in Torah Lishma yet? Who hasn't been in Torah Lishma? Wow.
Oh, I haven't.
You have. So Torah Lishma, we need to fix that. So Torah Lishma is an evening in which we study Jewish sources in a Chavruta style, yeah, like in a yeshiva style, with leaders. Usually we have a theme, and then we have sources from different areas of Jewish wisdom, from the Torah, from the Talmud, from the Zohar, and then you get to rotate and sample each source like this. It's 2.5 hours. It sounds exhausting, but actually, by the end of the evening, you are just shining bright because it's a really wonderful evening. And so this is for February. In March, we are reintroducing what we had last spring and summer, Torah B'Teva, Torah in nature. So we get to have a hike of 2 hours. Usually, it is a hike which is journeying through the 4 worlds, usually. But this time, we have a guest from Israel, and the flyer is outside. You can read all about her. And she is a rabbinical student, and she comes here as part of Rikma, and she's also a leader in Chevra Le'Haganat HaTeva in Israel. So she is knowledgeable in both areas, nature and Torah, and she's going to lead us to the sacred in nature. So, anything else that I forget?
There are flyers for all of those.
Flyers for all of this outside. So, welcome. And if you made up your choice, David, please, can you tell what you're going to do tonight?
Well, we've been following the Hebrew alphabet through the Siddur, and tonight we're going to look at the letters Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, and Yud. I hope. Since we got through, in how many classes have we had? In 3 classes we got through the first 5. Tonight we're going to move a little. And again, the idea there is just to show what process you're moving through in terms of the prayers, and the letters will be a vehicle for us to understand what the prayers are.
And Michael, would you tell us what you
That was good.
Excuse me. Tonight we're going to go into depth into the Shema, into the inner level of the Shema, and hopefully have a religious experience.
So you can't talk about.
Well, if you can find the words, we can talk about it.
Okay, so it's 7 now, and we have an hour.
Good.
Come back, and an hour back to this room.
It's a lot more communal than the way they did it. But if you look at many synagogues, especially suburban synagogues, the cantor would begin, and then there would be sort of a drop-dead silence until he would finish off, and nobody would speak out loud or anything. Is there something you want to say, Dorit? We got this all together and the time is up.
I would love for us to finish with Nigun.
Good. All right. So we're doing Shema Yisrael before. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
When you finish the Shema, all three portions of the Shema, the one that begins with Thou shalt love, and the second one that says, if you will listen to the commandments, and the third one that says, and God spoke to Moses saying, speak to the children of Israel, they should have fringes on their garments and so on. It ends up with, I am the Lord your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt in order to be your God. And then, Ani Adonai Elohechem, and we say the word Emet. Okay? So one of the things that we did when we were up in Dharamsala at that time, that delegation of Jews meeting the Dalai Lama and his people, we would, when we finished davening, we would say to each other, Adonai Elohechem emes, you have a true God, you have a true God, you have a true God. So I'm saying to all of you, Adonai Elohechem emes, you have a true God. Your search, you include yourself in the search, Adonai Elohechem emes. Have a good night.